Hello, my name is Lucas, this is A Bit of Lit, and I'm here to discuss Volker Ulrich's Hitler Downfall, 1939 to 1945, which is a phenomenal biography, the second of a duology. First one I talked about earlier in the month. I will leave a link to that. It is a biography that follows Hitler's time during war, starting with his early successes against Poland, Denmark, Norway, France, and it goes through some issues with Italy and Northern Africa, and of course it covers Operation Barbarossa and how that turned the tide against Germany, and it ends with his demise by his own hand, and has one more chapter at the end to discuss his place in history, which is a very good chapter. The whole biography is excellent. Both biographies, both parts of the biography, both volumes are excellent. Highly recommend them, especially if you are at all interested in learning about a very insecure, pathetic, cowardly, evil man who came from nothing, was turning into nothing, and then after the First World War found himself in a position, found himself in a time where he could use the skills that he did have to great effect for himself to radically change the culture for the worst of his country and of Europe and of the world, in a sense. Unfortunately, still today, there are those that revere his ideas, and that's disgusting, but it is incredibly important to learn about this kind of figure, I think, if you're interested. If you're not interested, then at least be aware. uh, I learned so much from this volume and the other volume, actually. Um, and this volume does a very good job of, again, exploring the psychology of Hitler as the events of the war are going on. It gives a lot of information, great detail about what's happening, who are the major players, what's going on. It does a phenomenal job of giving you an idea of the motivations of Goebbels, Rommel, Himmler, all these characters in history of the Third Reich, and others, of course, and how sometimes they were pitted against each other because Hitler liked to keep his distance. And as they were going through this war, where the war economy needs to keep churning, their early successes, and then critical crisis failures later on. The way that they all act is they continue to get worse, especially Hitler, even with his early successes. I mean, if you know anything about him, you know he's a monster. If you've read Hitler Ascend, you can see what motivated him as this monstrous sort of figure. Really humanizes him in his monstrosity. Make no mistake, these books do not try to they try to explain and understand who he was, not to make him look like, yes, but there were some problems in his life, and no. Anyway, you get to see these terrible personality traits, these really strong ones, his aversion to people, his lack of empathy, how he pits his underlings against each other, how he becomes more psychotic, OK's euthanasia programs, OK's the Holocaust, genocide, OK's Operation Barbarossa and the lack of court-martialing going on there when German soldiers do as they feel. These things are sort of the tip of the iceberg, but you really get to see truly how evil this guy was, and how horribly pathetic, horrifically pathetic, and cowardly. Could never, ever accept responsibility for anything. And a lot of the war went through him. He made himself commander-in-chief. He seized even more power in this. He became more power hungry, more paranoid, more desperate, more psychotic, as they said, and continued to push blame on others when things didn't go well or people didn't act the way that he wanted, especially when there were critical failures for his own people. His idea was, we can't give up anything, and he did not trust at all, did not trust his military leaders, which, good, it led to the loss of Germany, but you just see constantly, time and time again, how he throws everybody else under the bus, refuses to accept responsibility, becomes more averse to seeing people or being heard, because he can't easily, especially when Germany's starting to lose, he can't portray himself as easily as this mythic figure who came to save Germany and this kind of thing. And he's so egocentric. It's insane. It's just mind-boggling. I certainly feel, as I've read this, that I know of a similar kind of monster in present times, who currently does not have power besides being incredibly wealthy. Anyway, just in personality traits alone. But he's so egocentric. I mean, not only does he not accept blame and blame others, but for a long time he was sort of preparing, as his health is deteriorating, he's starting to be more hunched over, he's losing sleep, his eyes are all bugged out, he's turning gray up here, and all these other things. He's stressed out, he's shaking with his left arm, taking a tremendous amount of drugs, which, of course, he's such a hypocrite. It's incredible. So evil. Yeah, he's a hypocrite. There are so many people that he throws under the bus for taking stimulants and other kinds of drugs when he's also doing constantly. He's always blaming other people. But he's trying to figure out what's the best way when he knows that defeat is certain. He's spends a lot of time thinking about how to be defeated heroically so that he will be remembered fondly, and these kind of man. Yeah, he's a bad guy, and this book is incredible. I highly recommend it, especially the last chapter, which sort of dives into where do we place this figure and what should we make of him. I think is an excellent chapter. Every part of this book disgusts me in the best kind of ways. It's very well researched. You get a real clear psychological portrait of this lunatic who is an egocentric, pathetic, cowardly man. I mean, perfect example is his final moments of trying to portray himself as a mythic figure and cowardly, refusing to accept responsibility, especially because he didn't want the Soviets to get his body to parade around, which I guess I can understand, but I hate the guy. Anyway, it's a very good book, and I highly recommend it.